features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back on your live safari this afternoon. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Big James. Already we are perched on a nice perch here, observing the plains of the Masai Mara, hoping to spot the lions. That's my idea this afternoon, and after that I'm going to go to the swamp, see what we can find. Remember to talk to us on hashtag Wild Earth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. To start with, I'll share with you the beautiful Olololo escarpment. And this is your live safari this afternoon. Remember that. And that is the Olololo Syria escarpment. This is the western boundary. As always, I'm reminding you of the Mara Game Reserve. So beautiful, so lush, full of trees and rolling plains. Good afternoon, everyone, once more, and welcome to the beautiful Masai Mara. I am perched on this high ground here, overlooking the plains. But to start with, I'm going to share with you the site of the beautiful Olololo. Remember, this is a live safari. Talk to us on hashtag Wild Earth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. I'm joined by my colleagues in Southern Africa and also here in the Masai Mara to bring you this live safari coming from the Africa wilderness. Look at those clouds. Looks like we might have a storm this afternoon or this evening. Hopefully the show will be over. Remember, we've been having, unscheduled rain every now and then, which is much, much welcome, because we can never have enough of the rains. From the previous rains, you can tell the grass has become green, which is much, much needed, because we are expecting the wildebeest to be back on these beautiful plains.
Jumbo, jumbo, hello, hello, and a very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another part of Masai Mara, because from where I am, Isaac is that way. My name is David, and on camera with me this afternoon is Bungay. Bungay, how are you, sir? We have spent the better half of the day, we have spent it here by the river, waiting to see the animals we might show you from the distance there. The better part of the day, we have been here, and we have been hoping these animals are going to come and cross the river. There's a hippo there. Forget about the hippo, because the hippo lives in the water, and the one that zebra is looking at it suspiciously. But we have had big herds of wildebeests, zebras, and topis coming very close to the water and then moving back, and we've been playing that game of hide and seek, wait and watch. Watch and wait, and you're still very hopeful that something might happen. And as Isaac might have told you, we'll have questions, we'll have comments, and you can reach us by tweeting to us using hashtag WildEarth. The children, should you have any questions, you can send us emails using kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. I've been enjoying these rapids since about 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning, but nobody has come to cross. Laura, you'd like to know how many bird species we have in the Mara. Laura, we got about 450, thereabouts, give or take, of bird species in the Mara. I remember, Laura, when I was in college, My lecturer told me that the Masai Mara alone has more bird species than Canada and America combined. I do not know what he was saying, but we were to prove that, and he told me Masai Mara as a game reserve has more bird species than Canada and America combined. Maybe yes. Crocodiles, I'll tell you, Laura, we have only that one species you see there that is called the Nile crocodile. Getting a lot of warmth from the soil, and then later on it might go back to the water. We'll spend a few more moments here chancing to see if this wildebeest are going to cross. If not, I'm thinking of looking for some spotted cats.
So we have some African elephant males that are also acting a bit like crocodiles, getting all up in the water. But now they're having a little bit of a tussling match here at Ndlovu Dam, which is quite wonderful. I don't often come this side of the dam to watch the elephants, but I quite like it. It's absolutely spectacular to watch these massive animals getting so playful around the waterhole close to our eco-training camp. Oh, this one looks like it's going to struggle. Yeah, couldn't do it. Couldn't engage low range enough. Spectacular. So they are busy having a play fight, these young bulls. And they do this almost every single day, which is quite awesome. Love watching the elephants as they play here at the dam. There's those two over there as well. Hi, I'm Mike, and behind the camera we've got Odie, and you're here joining us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy. As you can see, we've got elephants for days all around our camp. As you can see over there, there's two elephant bulls. One of them's got a very short leg, but he seems to be giving it a good go. See the one at the back there is pushing. He's really doing a good job. See how he's got one short leg? His back right leg is much shorter than his other leg, and we know him quite well. Sometimes we affectionately know him as Ivar or Limpy. So it's quite awesome to see him doing very well, pushing his weight around with the best of them. What are they taking a short break? They're taking a short break from fighting, and then round two. Here it goes. Come on, don't be shy now. So they often do this, the young bull elephants. You know, they show off their size and strength in order to practice, first of all, and also to get a sort of a hierarchy in a way as to who's going to be the biggest and strongest and able to dominate any females that might come into breeding season. Now, all of these bulls here are quite young. I wouldn't think that any of these are even past their mid-20s. And that's a great question, and one we've often asked ourselves. They often say that there are more elephants on pride lands that we see on a game drive than anywhere else we've ever been on safari in South Africa. It's absolutely amazing. Now, I think at any one time we probably have 60 or 70 elephants moving around pride lands. But we are open to the Greater Kruger National Park, and so elephants just like these might come to the waterhole. But this is very weird. It's like a synchronized dance. There's two sets of elephants both walking in opposite directions. It's awesome. So at any one time there can be 60 or 70 elephants, and this waterhole here in Ndlovu Dam by our eco-training camp is very unique in that there's not much other water around this area, so lots of animals come to our waterhole, and so it brings elephants from all over this area of the Greater Kruger to our waterholes, which is spectacular for us and our students. We love seeing it. It means we have to be on our toes, though. We have to always be aware. We were just saying we don't get much rest here because we've got hyenas that pester us at night, as fun as it can be, not for Odie's chair, and we've got elephants that wander through our camp during the day, which also comes with its own. Oh no, shame! Ivar, or our short-legged elephant's getting bullied now. Oh, ooh, our tusk in the bum. Ouchie! It's never so pleasant. I wouldn't like to get a tusk in my bum, that's for sure. Oh, these two are playing nicely together. Still got all these elephants being very playful around the water. Looks like 6 young elephant bulls just pushing each other around and playing and practicing. I would not be surprised if they actually went into the water to have a bit of a bathe. After all this playful behavior, they might get quite hot. I mean, it's not very windy, and the sun is quite warm, so they might go and dash into the water to go and have a swim after this. You can see some of them have been, squashed in the middle of 2 elephants. That doesn't look like the best place to be, but it actually looks quite fun. Sometimes when I watch elephants, I really just think this is playful. Playful behavior. It's one of the very few animals that you get to watch over long periods of time being really playful with each other. Especially if they go in the water, you'll see them splashing and cavorting, which is completely unnecessary. They get wet enough just sitting still in the water. It's purely for fun.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where we found a very nice herd of wildebeest just hanging out. I think they've come from the pan and had a drink, and they are now slowly feeding as they make their way back to wherever it is that they're going. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined by PK on camera, and very excited as always to have you with us. The sun is shining. The rain that we had for a few days seems to have gone for now. So the wildebeest are going to be thoroughly enjoying the spring rains that have provided nice moisture for the ground, and not easy to see, but there is going to be lots of new green shoots emerging. Spring doesn't always bring rain immediately. You'll see. Oh, what's going on, boys and girls? Spring doesn't always bring rain in the first immediate weeks, but we've had 2.5 days of rain, about 15 mils of water, and the grass is going to respond very quickly. Now, I don't know what it is that they are alerted to there. They are generally quite jumpy animals. Their tracks are all over the open area where they hang out. They were hunted by lions 2 days ago. Could see the evidence of that in the tracks. We go forward a little bit. Just trying to scan the long grass there. They're looking at something. Going to try and investigate what it might be that's given them such a fright.
So our elephants have moved now to the mud bank, where it looks like they're going to continue fighting, but also maybe having a bit of a mud splash, because of course when it gets very, very hot like this, a bit of mud on their skin helps to cool them off and also protect them from biting insects. We're starting to get insects now. You saw all those green shoots emerging, and so you know that spring is here, and with spring comes also all the insects. Some of them are awesome, like butterflies, and some of them are a little bit frustrating, like horseflies. And so these elephants will play and also be in the mud. As you see right now, they churn up the mud with their big feet, and that makes it very, very muddy, and then they can use that mud to splash on themselves. Liv, I don't know. That's a great question. How many mammals do we have on Pride Lands? Goodness gracious me. I mean, in the sheer number of mammals or the different number of species of mammals? That's a good question. In terms of numbers, of like the total number of mammals, we've got thousands, absolutely thousands and thousands, from the impala and the mongoose and warthogs to the massive animals like these elephants. Thousands of animals move around Pride Lands at any one time. How many different species? Oh, gosh, I should know this. I should know, but it's probably something like 40 different mammal species, I think, something like that, that move around Pride Lands. It could be more, could be less. But let's just say 40 for now. I'll be able to do a bit of research to find out that exact answer, how many mammals might occur here. But you can see this elephant here has been using its forehead to get in some mud. Clever.
Good afternoon and welcome to And Beyond Ngala, where this afternoon we are looking at 2 giraffes on the Timbavati riverbank.
Sorry everybody for losing the feed there. We're coming to you live from the African wilderness. And our wildebeest were given a fright by what we found out to be a steenbok. Frightening animals, steenbok. It's just their movement through the long grass. Warthogs, duiker and steenbok can often give these animals a fright because they're quite low down to the ground. Their movements, you could say, are not skulky, but definitely Hello everybody, we have caught up with our wildebeest that seem to have relaxed again and tried to investigate what it is that gave them such a fright, and we found a steenbok moving through the tall grass. Steenbok, duiker and warthog can often give these animals a fright. And it's important, if you are an animal that gets eaten alive by predators, to be on your guard, or rather to be safe than sorry. You know, if something's moving through the long grass, it's better to jump than to think, it's just a steenbok, when next thing you know, a lion emerges. Being quite low down to the ground, the sort of movement of those sort of animals often can lead these animals to react. And I'm sure they headed back over to the open area where they've got much better view of their surroundings.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to a very warm and also windy Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Grant and behind the camera is Craig, and we have come out to the beautiful open areas we've been spending some time in recently, and we've found this group of white-backed vultures sunning themselves. Craig and I actually saw them from quite a way away, and we saw them coming down to land, which is sometimes a sign of a kill or a carcass. So we came to investigate, but it looks like they've just found a great spot to sun themselves. And while we were just sitting here watching them, I got thinking, and I asked Craig if he knew, but neither of us knew what the collective noun was for a group of vultures on the ground like this. But I think, what we were able to find was that it is called a wake, but they've got about 5 different collective nouns that are used for vultures. The other ones, so when they're circling up in the sky, known as a kettle, and ones in a tree are a committee or a venue or even a vault. So we learned some new stuff about vultures while we were sitting and watching them. And some of them have been sitting with their wings spread out, so just getting some sun onto the wings. KB, do vultures eat anything besides meat? That is a no. They only eat meat, and they are also strictly scavengers. They don't have the physical attributes required to catch and kill something. So they are completely specialized in feeding on carcasses that have already been killed by other animals. So they are what we call tertiary consumers, which means that they eat anything that is dead, including predators. So they are, a really important part of the bush. There's a quick link to a crocodile. We're going to head across.
We've got something super awesome. We were sitting watching the elephants, and a whole bunch of banded mongoose have just turned up at the waterhole, and they're making the most interesting sounds. And if it's a whole bunch, I wonder if it might be two groups, because there's still some left at the edge of the water, and they just came down and drank, which is quite unusual. We never get to see them do that. And now they're all moving on the top of the dam wall, kind of towards us. I wonder how close they'd get, because we're downwind from them. They're very shy animals. We never get to film. This is the second time only I've gotten them on film here at Pride Lands. These are ferocious little predators of insects and scorpions and snakes and all sorts of small rodents as well. And we saw them the other day. They actually came to drink at the water, and I think elephants tried to chase them, and the mongoose were not being cowed by them. They came and actually presented a united front against the elephants and managed to actually scare an elephant off, which was amazing. I don't know if you can hear that. That's the mongoose that you can hear. Sounds like almost like a squeaky engine. It's so weird. They are busy marching off, and you make all this noise here. It also helps to chase any predators off as well, a little bit. I'm just trying to reposition Odie a little bit there so we can get more of these mongoose. Oh, they've seen us. There they all go. See that they saw the movement. We're trying to reposition, and they saw us in like a flash. They just disappeared. Incredible. Magic Dragon, that was amazing. That's only the second time I've ever managed to get a banded mongoose on video before, and that was a lot of them. It must be the same group that came last time, because it was about the same time of day, same waterhole. They all just rocked up, chased a bunch of elephants, and then dominated the place and then disappeared off again. That was so awesome. Hey, that was really incredible. We've still got the elephants at the waterhole. They're still coming back, and looks like they're going to come down and drink again at the water. I wonder if I mean, obviously they weren't scared by those mongoose this time. They're on the other side of the dam, but they're actually heading into our camp. This could provide us some entertainment for later. They often do pull down trees and end up bumping into stuff. Hopefully they're not going to cause too much hassle for us. That's our lecture tent that you can see just on the right-hand side there, where we do all of our lectures with our students. And the elephants are obviously going to flex their brain muscles.
Welcome back to the Mara. I'm going to put my voice low because these guys are very skittish, and they're known to be very shy. I would call them masters of being shy. This is Africa's largest, and it has never been used to vehicles. They're always trotting, they're always running, very wary of vehicles. This is the eland, one beautiful, large African antelope, weighs almost a ton. It's a grazer, browser, quite abundant in East and Central Africa, spreads all over up to Southern Africa. Look at how that guy is so big. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, only predator can bring them down is lion, but young ones are preyed on by hyenas and leopards. He is running as fast as he can. Finak, thank you for your question. You ask if males and females have got different sizes of horns. Of course, yes. because males use them for mating right fights. They have much thicker and usually much longer. Females are not well formed. Sometimes they fall off. Also, they are slightly thinner. Yeah, males are stockier in the neck. As you can see, they have that hanging flap. It has no main purpose. It is said that during mating, the neck swells also, it grows longer to intimidate other rivals, other males. Yeah, thank you for the side flank. You can tell that he's always wary, looking around. Yeah, he's still on the menu, although he's the biggest. So he's been very careful. He's gotten slightly comfortable because he's getting closer to the rest of his mates. I'm staying here with him. Hopefully, I'll see him join the rest.
So we're still at Ndlovu Dam, and you can see now the elephants have moved away from the dam itself, away from the water. They've finished playing and drinking, and now they're moving into the shade of the large trees around our camp. In fact, that tree that they're busy feeding on right now is actually where we park our vehicle when we are not on safari. So they're busy pruning it for us, helping us to get a bit of space there. And you can see a lot of the trees pushed down around water holes. That happens quite naturally. Elephants do push a few trees around, but what it ends up doing is it actually creates open space for new trees to grow where before they were shaded. So you can see that elephant there in the shade, reaching its trunk up into the low branches of that, what looks like a weeping boerbean. Not a particularly palatable tree most of the time, but at this time of year now, when there is not much food around, they'll eat whatever they can get, which is quite important when you're a huge animal.
Well, elephants, anytime they're seen or talked about, they make my day. I was talking of spotting a spotted predator or spotted cat, but I've got a hyena here, and this is the spotted hyena. And from where she is, she belongs to a clan of hyenas that we call the North Clan. Just curious looking at us, and mostly she was just using that bush maybe to shade herself from the sun. She's alone. I'm not sure where the other members could be, but all the way behind there you can see one single tree in the background there, which is a balanite tree. Another like 2 kilometers east of that tree is where we have the den of the North Clan. The North Clan is one very famous group of hyenas that we have been following here, that are led by one female called Wafos. I stayed a little bit by the river, didn't see much happening, and I thought I'm going to bambo a bit, seeing this hyena, and I'll continue doing the same.
Here we are with a wonderful herd of elephants. We heard them from our rooms when we were getting ready earlier, and we tried to catch up with them. And there's wildebeest slowed us down. There's a little youngster that's learning. I want that leaf, Mum. That one over there. Ooh. Doing very good. Doing very well at using that trunk to grab food. Still young enough to be relying more on Mum for milk. We'll follow her everywhere. And every plant Mum touches, every plant she moves past, every plant she eats, will have a little sniff. Hello, Rick. They can cycle for the first year and a half or so. and then they get weaned by about 2 years. 2 years, maybe some a little bit earlier than others. But in that first year and a half, they do a lot of experimenting. And they will eat other food, but they do really struggle to get it to the mouth. So the first 2 years is all about putting food from the trunk into the mouth. So it's very, very fun to watch.
And we are back here at Anvion Gala, where we have just found a well-spotted eagle owl. This bird is hiding extremely well in the dense vegetation along the riverbed. You can see it looks very unimpressed at the moment. You can see the head slowly turning, the eyes are almost closed, and the tufts at the top of the head straight up to help it blend in. Normally this bird is a nocturnal bird, and they are not very active during the daytime. But if you're lucky enough to spot one, like this one, you can see how well they are blended in. Then you'll usually find them in something shady. Debbie, indeed, we are spoiled for sightings today. Like an owl like this is kind of like a secretive bird that you hardly ever really get to witness their daytime behavior. And in this case, so if we go out a little bit, you'll notice that it's extremely difficult to see it. Just look at that.
So we've now got a common or grey duiker that's slowly making its way to the water, but it's very, very nervous. It looks like a male. It's got 2 short horns. Females don't have horns, and it's constantly looking around. Remember, this is an animal that is either solitary or in pairs. It does not have a herd or a group with it to help it look for danger. So when its head is down and it's drinking, it's incredibly vulnerable because a leopard or a lion could quickly run up behind it and catch it. So it's literally, it walks to the water's edge and it stops and it turns around. It looks around a bit, then it walks back to the water's edge, and it stops and it looks again. See, it's very, very indecisive. It's nervous to drink here. Also around it there's lots of churned up mud that's gone dry. And so if it tries to run from danger now, there's always the chance that it hurts itself, breaks its leg or twists its ankle trying to run away, and that would make it even more vulnerable. So it's being very, very careful when it comes down to drink. See that? It literally just had a sip and now it's going to the other side of the tree. Make sure that nothing is coming to it. And look at those ears, constantly swiveling, very sensitive, picking up every sound and movement, every crack of a branch, every small undercurrent. Very amazing to watch because you just have to put yourself in the shoes of duiker. You be on the menu of every single animal. Even some of the smaller predators could catch you, something like a caracal or a serval or a snake, even large eagles. So you've literally got everything after you. And so you have to be very, very, very alert all the time. Tailor-made. It's quite unusual. We don't see duikers drinking every day. That's not to say that they don't drink often. I'm sure they'll drink whenever they can. But generally, especially in the summertime, they'll get a lot of what they need to drink, or the moisture that they need from the food that they eat. But I've mentioned it before. I did a bit of research and a few calculations, and I worked out that most animals need to drink about 5 liters, about 5% of their body weight in water per day. And obviously that number will go up or down depending on how much energy they're using or how hot it is. But if a duiker weighs, let's say, 15 kilograms, something like that, it's probably going to have to drink at least 1 liter or 2 of water every single day, or at least get the equivalent in in water. I'm saying that like it weighs 15 kilograms. I don't know, it might weigh less, it might weigh more. I can't really remember the exact size, but they are small animals, not big at all. Which is about 5% of its body weight. Amazing.
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We have found a big bird called a black-bellied bustard. Now, before you all tell me off for swearing, it is a bustard and not the other one. This bird is one of Phinda's star birds. I'm not sure if it's featured on our drives yet, but it is a really special bird to this area, and we've just called it a star bird because it is a special bird to Phinda, and it's one that you have a really good chance of seeing while you're here. Now, when this bird turns its head away and looks away from us, like it is now, there's a bit of a side angle, but if you look at the back of its head, it's got quite a unique marking, and that actually is supposed to look like a beak. So it's got a false head on the back of its head, so it almost looks like it's looking in both directions. So that is supposed to deter predators, so almost make them think that the bird is currently looking at them if they're trying to stalk up on it from behind. So it's quite an amazing defensive adaptation that this bird has. We watch it for a little bit. It seems like it's looking for food, so foraging at the moment, and it is omnivorous, so it's looking mostly for insects, but it will eat grass, seeds and berries when they are in season. But we are hoping that it does its call, and it's got an amazing call. The bird book describes it as a champagne bird. So the sound is, I'm going to try and do the sound, but it's a little bit like a quack, and then just like a slightly more delicate champagne bottle pop. And this is a male. If you look at the belly, you'll see that very prominent black coming through. The female is lacking the black, so she's got she's pretty uniform colored throughout her body, so she's similar to the back of this male, but that same color and those little black flecks are on her belly as well. But she also has the false face on the back of her head as well. So when would the bird call? Colson is asking. And I mean, I've seen them calling early morning, in the middle of the day, and in the evening. But what we know from other animals and scientifically, sound travels further in the morning and the evening when the air is cooler. There are also less ambient sort of noises, less animals active and making sounds, and so they have a better chance of their call traveling a further distance, reaching, of course, a louder audience, hoping, of course, to attract a mate. So I would say mostly mornings and evenings they call the most. That's the best time to see one calling.
And there'd be beautiful calls to hear from the black-bellied bustards in the morning. But you got other birds locally here in Kenya called the guinea fowls. They do not call that late in the morning, but they call about 3-4 o'clock. And they become quite a mess when they call that early because you have no choice but to wake up. Giraffe, they must say giraffe, just running, not sure for what reason, stopped looking at us, Look at her height. She must have seen something the direction she came from. See how she's looking? The waterbucks in the background there. And one of their strongest senses is sight. That's what they use. She's definitely looking at something from where she came from. She came from some bushes where she was feeding, and not anything myself can see. We have used them once in a while as indicators. When you see them like standing in a particular position, facing a particular direction for a long time, without moving, we always know there's something they're watching. And don't forget, we're coming to you live. As we've told you a few times, should you have any questions or comments, please send them through. You can tweet to us using #WildEarth. This giraffe is still looking in the same direction she came from running, and I've turned and I've looked a few times. She might have seen something, and that's why maybe she moved away, running very quickly. And what she's doing, she was trying to join other members, I think, of the same herd, because behind her, there are 3 other giraffes. In general, giraffes will go in herds, 3s, 5s, 10s. And those are the other 3 that she's going to join. So once the migration is gone, all the big predators will be left dealing with giraffes like this. Because as you look, as Bungay is going to pan his camera, Bungay is the gentleman managing the camera today, you're not going to see any other animal apart from the waterbucks I showed you earlier, we saw earlier. There is not any sign of wildebeest or zebra. They have all headed towards the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania, or the boundary between Masai Mara and Serengeti and National Park. I'll try and investigate where that giraffe was looking, and maybe you'll find out if there was something or not.
So the elephants have decided that they've finished feeding, well, some are still in our camp feeding, but most of them are now heading up the slope onto the top of the hill, where we often find them in the morning. You know, on the hillsides, it's often warmer than in the valleys during the evening. That's where all the warm air tends to rise up, so probably going to go and settle there and feed on whatever they can on the hills. And the other elephants still in our camp, busy pruning our parking bay, which is great. And of course, other things might come down to the water. It's always a bit of a lucky packet what might come down.
Welcome back to the Mara, and I have a very beautiful size, or nice size herd of elephant. I've seen this herd before. The reason is there is Crooked. You see her out off to the right. She's got those interesting tusks. One goes below the trunk and the other one goes slightly to the right and then bends. There are quite a good number in this herd. See, they're all spread out. Lots of young ones, very young mothers. And looks, it's that time of day when they leave the marsh to come into the plains because it's cooler. And they're going to spend the night over here in the plains most of the night, then head back to the marsh during the day for water. Remember, they are water dependent, so they need to drink every day. Talk to me on #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. Here in the Mara Triangle in Masai Mara, and this is live. Those white birds you see there are called cattle egrets, and they are related the Timoray. You ask why elephants fight. Well, when they grow big, when they become big enough, they need to mate. And for mating right, they need to establish a hierarchy who is stronger than the other, and that's why they fight to determine who's bigger, who's smaller, who's bigger than the other, so that they can have all the females. It is for mating rights and dominancy. You can tell now they've picked up the pace slightly, so there is a sort of communication being communicated. Remember, elephants kind of communicate with frequencies much below our sense of hearing, and they can travel up to over a mile, and they can talk without us hearing. That is a very big calf to be drinking, and I think that's why the mom decided, no, I'm not gonna give you some milk. Yeah, usually when those tusks starts growing, it becomes difficult for the mother to let the young one grow, because every time it tries, they'll go her, and they might cause some injury. Yeah, looks like now they're on the move. Usually when they're not feeding, the matriarch has decided that they need to get to where they were going, so that they just move. Eland, you ask, what do elephants eat? They are herbivores, and so they eat plenty of plant matter. Over here, there is over 200 different types of trees that they can eat, but of course they don't eat the trees, they eat the leaves. Also, they eat plenty of grass. I know of more than 10 different types of grasses, but there is more than that. So they eat both grass and leaves, and then they take it down sometimes in the day or in the evening with plenty of water. You can tell that those cattle egrets are having fun, walking besides those elephants, because they are spooking too many, locusts, flies, grasshoppers, crickets, and so they're having a feast. See how excited they are with their necks, moving. It's a symbiotic relation between them and the elephants, where it's called mutualism, where both benefit. Those ticks, those insects that could bite them, are eaten by these white birds. Definitely there is communication there, because you can see the little guys have been put in the middle. It's like Jada, you ask, why do they have such long noses? Yes, well, that is, the trunk is used for many purposes. It's like a hand, it's like a nose, it's like a tongue, and because they have such a small, short neck or no neck at all, without the long nose, they would never reach the ground to pick up anything, and then they would starve. It is a nose, it is a hand, it is a tongue. They use it for many things. It's called a trunk. Yes, looks like they have moved off from our frame, so we're gonna see what is down there. It's a beautiful view. Looks like there's a storm brewing a long ways down. That's where we're going. That's the marsh. We have eland, topi, Thompson's gazelle. All these come here because the grass is softer, much easier to chew and swallow. Looks like the topi is paying attention to something to the left, but I cannot see it. We'll be going there to find out what is happening. Remember, I'm in the Masai Mara, in the Mara Triangle. Yeah, the good old dead tree. Oh, more elephants over there. Another big herd. Like I told you, it's like this time of day, they communicate and they just leave the marsh to come out into the plains, where they spend, almost 12 hours of the night, browsing and grazing out here. Then early morning they start heading back to the swamp for the much needed water at the swamp. The hills you see a long ways there, are Aitong Hills, and they are the northern boundary of the Mara Game Reserve. It's a long way. As the crow flies, I would give that a good 80 kilometers. So if you can see that, your eyes are okay. The riverine forest, all the thick forest you see down there, follows the Mara River. Yeah, what a beauty. Yeah, that is the kind of view I have from where I have. It's an amazing view. I hope you're enjoying that view as I am. Also, we have cattle egrets, sacred ibis down there, more elephants. It looks like they're all coming towards the plains, which is going to leave the swamp or the marsh empty, because everybody looks to be, looks like they're leaving the marsh.
And you are back with us in Djuma, everybody, where we don't have the same marsh or plains as you do in the Mara. But we do have wonderful knobthorns that we've been seeing the last couple of weeks. Have been a wonderful flower all across the landscape. I can't say I've noticed them being so overwhelmingly dominant. The spring is definitely providing us quite a show. So we were following up a moment ago on where Princess Tlalamba was left this morning. But, she was sort of just sitting in the shade of a tree. And we're just checking to see if we could find out where she is, but we haven't managed to find her. And looking up in big trees is always a good thing. Knobthorns, though, are not often the best tree to look in for a leopard. Although we did have that female leopard Shadulu a couple of weeks ago in a knobthorn, which I was quite surprised about. Wow, Ethan, you want to know how many predators we have in Africa? Well, it's very much lots. I can't tell you off the top of my head, Ethan. There are many. In South Africa alone, we've got lions, and cheetah, and leopard, and hyena, and honey badger, and all the mongoose species, civets, all of the birds of prey. There are many different jackal species, servals, caracal. There are many predators. Then don't forget the owls as well, as the small sparrowhawks and large eagles. And then there's also snakes. And don't forget most spiders are also predators as well. So the list is enormous. Andrew, it's a magnificent tree, isn't it? These big knobthorns are also the trees that are selected by large raptors, including vultures, for nesting. They are generally the most inaccessible of trees to climb because they've got very uncomfortable branches with sharp backward-facing thorns. And many of our large birds will form platform nests right on the top.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this ground hornbill here has just hunted, and I think it caught itself a mouse. Look at that. She's just killing it. It's not dead as yet. I can hear it squeaking. Do you want to share, or are you going to eat it alone? We call it the southern ground hornbills. See what she just caught for herself. And this is literally 40 seconds ago. She says, it was my hunt. It is my kill. Are you going to share? I'll not be surprised if he's going to swallow it as whole as it is. We rarely see these ground hornbills, and I think we're very lucky, and especially to see them with a kill. We always see them having the beaks in the ground, hunting, digging something, eating on the ground. We never know what they eat. But the very first time I've seen them bring a rodent up in the air, they got very sharp and very strong beaks, and that is her trophy. They always walk very quietly and then just pounce on their prey. But let's see what it's going to do. I think it's already dead. Not sure what exactly she's doing with it. Either making sure it's totally dead. I'm surprised she doesn't want to share it. That's the head in the mouth, if you look carefully, and maybe she's just squeezing the skull to make sure it's totally dead. And walking on the ground. There it goes, swallowing the whole of it. Oops. Are you going to manage? Are you sure? Omari, it's very easy to tell these birds apart. And you'll notice the females have, you see the red, like the red water they got on the base of their beaks and on the necks. The female's one is always much brighter than that of the male. Size-wise, they're slightly larger than the males. How nice is this? This is just perfect. And how kind of you when you send us questions, when you send us comments. It's always wonderful. And remember, we'll be right here tomorrow, same place, same time. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again. Very many thanks on behalf of everybody. Stay well and bye. Well, ground hornbills hunting, and that was very special. For our regular viewers, we're here and they continue looking and searching in the grass, and you do not know what else they are going to catch for themselves. I was saying earlier, the wattle that you see, the red on the base of the beak and on the neck, is much bigger and sometimes more brightly colored in the males than in the females. Did you get something else looking? Continue walking. They do fly apparently, but they spend most of the time on the ground. And no wonder we call them the ground hornbills. But at the end of the day, they're going to fly, perch up on trees, where they're going to spend the night. It's really something to swallow the whole rodent without even cutting it into small pieces. Other birds that I've seen do this are herons. Herons, they look small, very small necks, much even smaller than the ground hornbills here. But anything they catch, a big fish, a big mouse or rat, once it's dead, it goes straight down. In fact, I guess the herons swallow much faster or much quicker than I saw this ground hornbill taking time to swallow the rodent she had. Quite vulnerable currently, these hornbills. Their numbers have unfortunately been coming down. So I want to move forward a little bit and see whether we can catch up with them. Because in total, there are 4, so we had 2 on each side of the road. Let's see how many others are there. So we have 1 crossing the road. Maybe I'm just going to stop here, because we have always said the animals have the right of way. And of course, these hornbills also have the right of way. Quite majestic to see them walk. Ding, ding. Not like a catwalk, really. Lena, it's very strange. When you see most of the birds and you see what they swallow, I haven't seen them trying even to split it in small bits. There's one time I saw a hornbill swallowing a very huge snake. It was like a grass snake because it was green in color. It was so huge, and it took about half an hour to swallow it. It swallowed it in bits. It would stop, walk around with it, and after about 25, 30 minutes, that's when the whole body of that snake disappeared in its tummy. It was rather strange. But I haven't seen them cutting. The only thing, Linda, I know about these hornbills, their beaks are very sharp and very strong. So, for example, they can poke a shell of a tortoise or a terrapin and just get the flesh out. But I haven't seen them like cut or, tearing meat like some of the eagles will do, or like the vultures. I haven't seen them do that. And if you look carefully, their beaks are pointed and not hooked, like for the eagles. It takes a long time for these birds to breed, and they use particular habitats, like huge trees that are hollow. And I was saying earlier, they are becoming quite vulnerable, and the numbers are going down because we have been seeing lots of logging to such trees, and they're not getting the right ecological niche to breed. Very excited to have seen the ground hornbills.
Hornbills are magnificent. They are indeed. I really enjoy ground hornbills, and to make a kill, another predator there that we didn't add to the list. So, spring has arrived, and you can see all the little green shoots coming out on the grass here. This is what the animals are going to be looking for. Not bad if you like grass, but you can see how these tufts have been grazed before. And grass grows from the base. We call it basal growth. So you can cut it quite low down and it will actually regrow again. But if you cut it too low, it'll die. Like this one over here has been cut too low and it's damaged itself and it's not surviving. Whereas one of these has been cut quite low down, but you can see the shoots are starting to pop out again. So we call basal growth, growing from the bottom. And that is what the grass is going to be doing now. Sometimes you might see these much longer bits. Those aren't necessarily the green grass. That's where the inflorescence or the flowers will form. These will often shoot up. You get these wonderful inflorescence standing out of the plant. It's not the time of year for it yet, but later on it'll be growing, and that's where they reproduce. And most of the grasses are wind pollinated. So you can actually see over here. Here we go. Here's one. That's an old inflorescence. You can see how it's shot all the way up from the bottom. And there's no purpose for this other than for reproduction. So this looks like it was a chloris, one of the feather-top chlorises, and it pushed up the flower, and then the flower being quite high, if you consider it, wind would be blowing pollen. That's why many people get allergies in the summer months, because of the pollen of all the grasses that are flowering and blowing around and in the wind, and that'll blow and pollinate any of the other plants that are the same species, and that is the sort of general way. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to jump back on. We weren't able to find where our female leopard has gotten to, so we're just going to check a watering hole nearby that might have her there. Dina, you want to know if animals eat weeds? And essentially, we are the only people... There goes a little bird. We are the only ones who call them weeds. We call them weeds because they invade our vegetable patch. Now, many of the animals out here, look at this guy scratching around there, the crested francolin. Many of the animals out here will feed on the forbs or herbs, depends on where in the world you come from. I suppose if you come from North America, they call them herbs. But anything that is not grass, that is a double leaf, growing quite small to the ground or can grow into a small bush, many people can call them weeds. All of our wild flowers would essentially fall into the category of weeds, but they are very pretty and very beautiful. And yes, many animals will eat them. Some animals will feed on the leaves. Some will feed on the flowers themselves. Many insects, including butterflies, will pollinate the flowers. And many organisms will distribute the seeds. So what is a weed to some is food to others. And that little Franklin is able to feed on the organic material as well. He'll feed on seeds, be able to dig up little roots as well. Little corms, which are sort of like little onions. Oh, we got another one crossing the road. Very quick. Very easy to see the crested Franklin. That is you see the white line on the back of from the top of the eye over the head. Very streaky body. We get the Swanson spurfowl, very easy to identify with the red face, and then the Natal spurfowl, which doesn't have that white line, the head, but has got an orange beak. It matches his orange legs. The three are the most common that we find around here. Okay, so we're just going to carry on down this road and see if we can pick up one of the attractive female.
Welcome back to the Mara, and I have another bird, or a bird of prey called the Butler eagle that looks like it's almost an adult, although the colors are not, they don't stand out as much. Usually they're much brighter, the yellow, the red legs and the yellow beak combined with a, red cere. They're usually much brighter. This is a Butler eagle. It's a bird of prey. I call it the master of the sky. Flies very low, about 400 feet. With that kind of height, it is able to detect any kind of movement on the ground. Also, it can see things that it can go for. It can go for up to young rabbits or young hares, birds, snakes, grasshoppers. I have seen it in scavenging with other scavengers like a marabou stock, although it's not its behavior. They are quite common and numerous here in the Masai Mara, and especially the area I'm in. They prefer very secluded, quiet areas. And when you see, I would say it's a him over there, means it's either he's got a partner somewhere and they're choosing a location where they might be breeding in the coming years. Chevy, thank you for your question. You ask if they kill their prey with their talons or their beak. They stab it with their talons, and usually it dies before they eat it. It has to be dead, so they use the talons to kill it. Yeah, most birds of prey do that, and then they rip it into big chunks using their sharp beaks. Sharp pointed beak, they rip big chunks and swallow them whole. They have to eat almost every day because their metabolism is very fast, so they need to keep eating. Yeah, it was once called the short-tailed snake eagle, but they stopped calling it that, and they called it Butler eagle. And the name refers to a French tightrope walker, because that's how it flies. It flies. When it flies, it doesn't flap, but it soars and just uses its wings to just glide up there in the air. Of course, always the plain antelopes that we find here are impala. And here are 3 very young males. I would give them almost a year or so. And they're doing very well, although they have chosen a very bad location. There's plenty of cover back there, so it can easily be ambushed. But looks like they're enjoying their grass and they have no worry in the world. Those big ears can help detect any slight movement behind there, and they're very fast. They can get out of there so fast, you cannot believe it. Those big ears can help.
Well, animals that aren't too concerned with movement behind them, for the most part. A lovely herd of elephants who are eating. That's what they do, everybody. If you ever spend time with a herd of elephants, majority of the time, they will be eating. Well, they're quite happy. Still grazing. Just goes to show everyone, if you just have a look at this, the leaves that it's feeding on there, a lot of that green is already shot through. So elephants are maximizing that. That's just after the rain we had. Grass is very quick to respond to rainfall. And so we had that herd of wildebeest at the beginning of the show that were in an area like this as well. We couldn't really see the green at the time, but now you could see it was quite obvious there. So being mixed feeders, elephants as well as impala will switch very quickly to whatever the best is, whatever the best food is going at the time. We've seen enormous amounts of damage and destruction, as you probably would notice it, of the trees that have been damaged over the last few months. Lulubelle elephants feed on trees. They break the trunk sometimes. They push trees over for the roots. And they do tusk the tree to rip at the bark. And the process by which they do it quite often can ring bark a tree. It's not that their intention is to kill the trees, it's just what they do. It's their life cycle. Porcupines ring bark trees as well, if you knew that. They also have the potential to damage trees quite badly. Even buffalo with their horns can sometimes damage the bark of small trees when they rub. So elephants do that to trees in their search and quest for food. And we had the knobthorn a little while ago. That is a tree that across the Kruger, scientists and people on the ground have been quite concerned about the loss of those big trees that have been killed. Because once a tree is ring-barked, everybody, that is basically the blood network of passing the food and the water around up and down the tree. Once the cambium in the bark is gone, and you just see the wood, the tree essentially dies. There's no other way to survive after that. But a natural process, because many of these trees will die and stand dead for many, many years, providing habitat for insects, birds, mammals, all sorts of things. Emily, you want to know why they push down trees? Well, first of all, because they can, but mainly it's for feeding. So they might push a tree over to feed on the tops of the tree, the branches that are quite high up. And in doing so, they actually create a microhabitat, because that tree, you actually see there's a tree here that's been pushed over by this elephant, BK. Now, have a look where this tree is right over here, being pushed over. Look how long the grass is all around there. The entire area around here is almost as tall as that elephant. So that's a microclimate that's been formed by an elephant pushing it over. And the elephant maybe pushed it over to feed on the top. Maybe sometimes elephants push trees over in shows of aggression. You do see it sometimes. And sometimes they try and uproot trees so as to feed on the roots. Roots have got enormous amounts of medicinal value and nutrient value that elephants are able to harness and access. And it leaves behind a trail of destruction that we think is really, really overwhelming. But they are keystone species, so they are very important to the environment, very important to the ecology. And the term keystone, if you are familiar with it or new to the show perhaps, if you remember arches that people build out of stones, the arch goes up from left to right, and the top stone that gets put in there is the keystone. And if you remove that stone out of the arch, the entire column and arch collapses. So they call elephants keystone species. Remove them from the system, and the system will collapse. the same ecology won't play itself out. The microclimates, the damage, the structural change, and that is what elephants do.
Yeah, from the elephant to the buffalo, another one of our grazers here in the Masai Mara, plays a very big role in making sure that a high percentage of all our grasses are properly utilized, because it is a pure grazer. This is a lone bull, and the area he has chosen is very secluded, so I would assume it's a guy I wouldn't want to mess around with. The grass around here is very short, and I think that's why he loves it here. Looks like it's been overgrazed by all the animals coming to drink water, because to my right it's the Mara River. It's an area rarely visited by people, so it's a very secluded area. This is what happens to these buffaloes once they reach off age. They find very secluded parts and retire there. Looks like it's a crossing point for either elephants, because you can see that worn out bank on the other side, and it's quite fresh. It has been disturbed, so looks like an elephant crossing point. This is a section of the river that I would say it's very deep. That's why it's very quiet. As you can see, they say deep water, quiet waters run deep, and I think that's what it is here. You cannot hear any rapids or any noise from the river, so it must be very deep. So the only animal that would cross here would be elephant or giraffe. They do cross from one side to the other. Yeah, do we have anything there? Yeah, nothing. It's just old debris brought down by previous rains, but definitely you can say that disturbed area there. It could be hippos, could be buffalo, could be giraffe that came down. It's a good crossing point. The forest surrounding, or on either side of this river, is a mixture of very different trees, some soft, some hardwoods, from croton to ambogia, tecleas, eucalyptus. All those are different types of trees. Pajama Donkey, thank you for your questions. I hope you're okay. You ask if we have any maponi trees. No, I think this is too tropical for them to grow here. They grow from southern Tanzania, Malawi, all the way to southern Africa. Over here, we don't find them. It's totally different habitat for them to grow. Yeah, look at that. It's a beautiful view. Back to this guy. Definitely, he might have another male to accompany him, because being around here alone, it can be very, very dangerous. You can tell he's not eating. He's just listening, because any kind of approach, from a vehicle or a human like me, he would attack without warning.
They are potentially very dangerous buffaloes. And here, our young bull elephant is got his face in the bushes, and he's trying to feed. And looked like he pulled out a plant a moment ago. A lot of these plants really enjoy the shade. Oh, it's going for some zebra wood, I think. Oh, I can't actually tell right now. He's got something in his mouth. Now, look how long the grass is in this area. We're at the end of the dry season, and there's still plenty of grass. Now, before we spoke about elephants damaging trees, and just wanted to bring your attention to this small tree on the right that we showed you before. And it's actually still alive, the one on the right, the buffalo thorn. still alive. Leaves are growing out of it. So these plants have evolved with damage. They've evolved to be damaged and to survive. Disturbance is part and parcel of the landscape. And now look at what that tree has done by falling over. It's an enormous amount of vegetation has grown underneath it. Now, that is a microclimate, ground nesting birds, ground nesting mammals, enormous amount of species and insects can live in there. Those are habitats. That area next to the Mara River that's been overgrazed, you won't get much living there at all. But here, in this little patch that's been pushed over by an elephant, life can abound. So remove elephants from the system, you're not going to get those changes in the dynamics. You're not going to get trees pushed over in areas to help them rehabilitate themselves. It's a natural process that we use in veld management called brush packing, by lying down branches, especially thorny ones, on the ground. It's a very, very good way of keeping the antelope species away from feeding and allowing the vegetation to grow back. That's a natural process that elephants do, and they don't charge anything for it. They just want a little bit of food. Fantastic. Really is amazing how much vegetation or grass there is still in this area. And how green it suddenly is after just a little bit of rain. Let's just spend a few moments sitting in silence and seeing if we can hear these elephants eating. Yes, of course. I think most animals have got a memory. Elephants just seem to, because they're a much longer-lived animal, I think they seem to tap into the memory rather than being as instinctive. Many animals have memory and will remember things, but I think they allow instinct to take over more. Not saying that there's any change in intelligence there, but I definitely think elephants think. You'll often find them making decisions. There's a very classic indication of an elephant making a decision when it walks towards you and it lifts one foot in the air. There's definitely the wheels turning in its mind about what to do. They communicate with each other all the time. They're constantly making decisions about what to do. I just don't think that their thinking is as complicated as ours. You know, their life is about survival. Their life is about eating, heading off to water, and where are the little ones at the moment. You know, they don't overcomplicate things in life, and I think that is where being in the wild can be quite sort of grounding for you. Because really, what is there to do out here other than just be? Breathe the air, drink the water, eat what food is available. Nothing too complicated about it.
Okay, welcome back, and talking about survival and how everybody's life is different. Here is somebody whose life is very complicated, and you have to just feel sorry for him. He's got more than 15 girlfriends, and all he does is to try and keep them together. Looks like they like him, so they're staying very close to one another, and he looks very alert, that like he has detected something off to the left. We'll be dealing with that shortly. But here the females actually are oblivious. They don't have a care in the world. This is the impala. Yes, I'm talking about you guys. And these females stick with the male for a very short time. During this time, he gathers them, makes sure they don't break away. He chases other males away. He mates with the females that are in season, which sometimes could be more than one per day, which makes him quite weak within a very short time. Usually they don't last more than 10 to 15 days, because another coming male who hasn't mated and hasn't had so much to worry about will beat him. Usually it's not easy, or it's not a walk in the market for him, so he has to defend the females. Usually he loses. I have seen them die from goring each other with those sharp horns. As you can see here, when he moves or when he turns, the females will obey, and he gets he gets chased away. Sometimes they die, and usually another males take over. I have seen a case where females get tired of a male, and when they see other males nearby, they'll break away and run towards those males. Once they arrive to those males, or that male, he becomes very, very protective, and the prevailing male has got no chance. And it is believed that they can see that he's gotten weak, and because they can make choices, they don't have to have a weak fawn. They would prefer to have a strong gene, so they eventually break away and go towards where there's a male. There's something really worrying him. It's either there's new males coming in from the left, or he has seen a predator. Oh, here comes another dagger boy, very fast asleep, no care in the world. He's really enjoying the evening breeze. It's not hot, it's not cold, so he's chewing his cud, and looks like he's got an oxpecker on his back. Sometimes they make wounds worse, those oxpeckers, because if he's got a wound, they'll feed on it, and that's a symbiosis called parasitism, where they make the wound worse. Sometimes it gets really infected, and sometimes killing the host, not only the buffalo but other types of animals. Remember, I'm in the Masai Mara and I'm in the marsh. Here I've seen lots of bull buffaloes. Looks like a retirement home for them, because when they reach about 8 years, they're too heavy to be going around very fast following a breeding herd. They normally do retire and just find a place like where they are, which is actually a very beautiful area. The only thing is, if there were lions, this is a perfect ground for them to be hunted. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other. He looks like he's all by himself, which is a little bit worrying, because if lions were to come, he doesn't have, even if he mows, nobody will come to rescue him. Look at how the ears are positioned, below the horns. Quite unusual for most antelopes. Remember, this is an animal that is not intimidated by many predators, including humans.
Shame, poor buffalo bulls. They do have it bad, don't they? We've managed to get ourselves in front of this herd, everybody, and they are very relaxed. So they've come out into the open a bit more. Now I'm really hoping that we're going to be surrounded by them shortly. There's a little one. Mom's job is not only to teach her youngster everything, but also to be a mobile unit of shade from time to time. It is very handy if your mom can keep you from getting too hot. Almost all of the elephants have switched back to grazing now because of that green flush. It's sort of like yourselves when you have had a shopping trip and there's maybe some old food in the house. You always go for the fresh stuff, don't you? Obviously, it's not ideal to waste, but elephants will bypass the stuff that's dry and old and feed on the juicy, tasty stuff. And when the green grass starts to re-emerge, that'll be the prime food. They will also be feeding on a lot of sticks and roots and bark at the moment as well. Not too many leaves of the trees. Any leaves that have survived this long have been under enormous amounts of browsing pressure and will be quite high in tannin. This little youngster's thinking about eating some leaves. Tasty. Hello, Mello. Basically, mother elephants, obviously they got calves at consecutive times. You'll often find the older calf or the calf before the one that she currently has trying to suckle. And inexperienced mothers will allow that to happen. Younger females, maybe in their first breeding season, might allow that to happen, or second, should I say. But generally they get dealt with quite quickly and pushed away. You don't find that due to the fact that they might be meant to her. Okay. So the older female will push them away.
Welcome back with me here in the Mara. I've left those impala and the buffalo, and I am in cat country. Hopefully, we can spot one for you. If not, there is many things, that we can be proud of here in the Mara. There's the beautiful forest here, which has got very many medicinal trees. Medicinal trees. The Maasai people have used them until the Western world brought, the Western medicine. And this, I would call it the local chemist, because it does have very many different kind of medicinal trees. When we get close, I will be pointing out a few so that you can see them. Most of them, we use them for toothbrushes, brooms, building materials. There is any kind of disease, there is something for it over here. This is an area called the Marsh. And for many years, there was no access to this area because there was no roads until the Mara Conservancy took over, and they have made bridges in areas where it could make it possible for us to drive over here. Of course, these roads are still very traditional, the ones that are made by guides. When they think there is something across this way, they come and drive, and so it becomes a road. Sometimes the Conservancy agrees to that and they fix it for us, and sometimes if they don't, they will close it down. Remember to talk to me on #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. Keep the fire burning, keep the flame burning. Yeah, I'm in an area looks like some old trees have fallen down and there is no animal in sight, but the forest itself is beautiful. Some of these trees are over, 100 years old. Some of them get infected by certain bacteria which eats the roots, like this one here, and eventually it just drops dead. Timmy, you asked me what is my favorite place in the Mara. It is a long way from here. It's towards Tanzanian border. It's got rolling hills and nobody ever goes there. Every now and then you do find a few people. That is my favorite place. It's towards Tanzanian border. Of course, I love the Mara and areas like this, very secluded. I love them. Yeah, this one looks like a Wambogia uganensis, or the Kenyan green heart tree. It's a softwood. There is this bacteria that eats the roots and then the tree just falls off. This one usually forms a kind of a jungle gym for leopards, lions, and even mongooses, snakes, lizards. We have geckos that live in those crevices like there. Oh, look at that. Who do we have? We have a sooty chat. Is it? Let me have a look. Looks like a sooty chat. And they have that typical bobbing of the tail. These are, little birds that feed on small insects, including termites, and they do chat. They do that, and they pair also. So the other one must have been the mate. Sorry, it is a northern ant-eating chat. The one to the right is a sooty chat. I don't know if you see it. It's got that white shoulder. That's typical of a sooty chat. It's one of our chats that we get here. This kind of logs or these trees actually provide refuge for many, animals. When it falls like that, nothing goes under, so sometimes the grass grow above it, making nice homes for scrub hares, porcupines, snakes, and even sometimes, leopards like to give birth in those underneath overgrowns. So it's a nice, it's nice to see them like this. They also improve with the looks of the area. Look at those two guys. I don't know why they're chasing each other. One is invading the other one's territory. You see the difference in colors? Yeah, there's the sooty chat and the northern ant-eating chat to the left. There could be lots of little termites on that log, and that's why they're here. We have very many different types of termites here in the Mara, and this time of evening they might be coming out because they don't come out during the day. Many birds would attack them and finish them, so they wait, and it's very cool to come out, and the chats do know that. They will, get ready to eat those workers that come above the termite mound to build the termite. At the back there looks like there's a tree which looks like it's drying, but it's not. That is the Croton dachogamus. It's a hardwood. We use it for building huts. Of course, it's not thick enough to create the frame of the house, but it weaves around the frame, and then mud mixed with cow dung is smeared in between to form a very thick and waterproof wall. Also, you would find animals underneath it because it's an insect repellent. Como, you ask if we ever have fires here. If you mean the natural kind, like lightning, no, I've never seen that here. There is some areas farther west of here that I've had, they do have those. But here in Mara, we never have a lightning. With the fires, they are lit by rangers in certain areas where they think it's necessary, which is still a big argument. Conservationists say it's not good, others say it's good. It's good. But it is important sometimes to burn old grass to, pave way for fresh shoots that are, highly, nutritious for the antelopes and other animals. So we never have natural fires here like lightning, only they are lit by the rangers. I'm gonna move further down, hopefully to find something. It's the best time of day, to see cats coming out, so hopefully we'll be able to see one further up. If not, there is a lot to see. Let's leave our sooty chats to enjoy their little jungle gym. Hopefully they will have enough to eat in there. You have to keep watch on these trucks, especially when there's been raining. Charles, thank you for your question. You asked if we get baobab trees. If we do get baobab trees far north. No, we get them actually east towards the coast. We do get, baobab trees. That is the only place we do get them. We get the baobab trees is towards the coast, is where we get them. Just gonna share with you these beautiful clouds we have here. Looks very stormy up there, and the sun is been hidden behind there. That is the Olololo beneath it and stretching all the way to Tanzania. Yeah, that's beautiful. I hope you're enjoying this. Over here, we can have, two different weathers in a day. We can have very beautiful, then all of a sudden in the afternoon the clouds are gather, and then in the evening have some rain, and before the night falls, we get again the sunlight. So it differs at different times here. It can change very, very, very fast, and I think the being at the equator really contributes very much to that. Yeah, the Olololo escarpment, as I like to call it, Olololo, stretches all the way to the western corridor of the Serengeti, and most of the vultures we see here usually nest down there. We'll be talking more about that in the next coming days.
Welcome back to South Africa, where we've got an escarpment much further away in the form of the Drakensberg mountain. And we also see some dramatic rainfall and weather here, but not quite like what I've seen in the Mara. The Mara is just unbelievable. Everybody, we had a report that lions have crossed into Djuma, sort of from the south. Aubrey from Djuma tried to see if we could find them. They weren't able to see any tracks. But we have now taken it upon ourselves to see if we can find them. If it is the Unkuhuma Pride, we will find them, won't we, Beeks? Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We know their routes. So I'm going to check this. We're just parallel with the Mulwati now. They would have come in from the south on the eastern side of the Mulwati. So we're going to check favorite little roads over here, Leadwood being one of them, and the Mamba Loop. Some very nice game paths that come through the thickets here on the right hand side. So while we were busy with those elephants, we got that report. I don't know how long ago it was though, but Aubrey got the report from the eastern station, so it's probably quite fresh. But after the rainfall, the ground is very hard, and it makes picking up tracks sometimes a little bit difficult. So you've got to be very, very careful. And it's possible that they might even be moving, which is exciting. Lions on the move on this wonderful afternoon would be well deserved, I think. Lions hunting. For them to be moving this time of day. There's impala over there. That's looking off. Can you see him, BK? Impala there. You got him? A bit more left. There you go. Have you seen any lions? He's not quite sure what I'm saying. Have you seen any lions? No, he hasn't seen any lions. The wind is coming from behind him. So you'll often find animals when it's windy stand with their back to the wind and they can see where the danger's coming from. The wind will indicate to them if anything's sneaking up behind them, and their senses of smell very good. Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. We're going to find ourselves some Panthera leos. And I'm almost certain it will be, well, I don't know. The update was lions. I don't think it really matters, does it? What lions we find today, everybody? It's most likely the Unkahumas. How many of them? I have no idea. Might even just be the male and female doing their rounds again like we had the other day. Lots of little game paths through this drainage system. Some giraffe over here will tell us whether they've seen some lions. That would be quite something to witness in this afternoon golden light. Prada lion hunting giraffe. Hello, Chris. Well, for the most part, the Unkahumas cover Djuma, and they move a little bit into Torchwood, up into Buffelshoek, and they go quite far south, actually. They cover an enormous amount of area. And then in Buffelshoek, for the most part, it's the Telemati Pride, and how far north and into Manuleti they go, I'm not sure. And then the Torchwood Pride moves on the Torchwood side down to Chitwa, and they keep a little bit more onto the eastern side. But we don't follow them, so it's very hard for me to tell you exactly how far they go. But the Unkahumas seem to take up the whole north, sort of up to Djuma, Simbambili, Arathusa, and then a few of the properties just below us, sometimes even ending up on Londolozi and Malamala. Okay, so these giraffe haven't spotted anything. That should be quite a prize this afternoon. Oh, that giraffe is grazing, everyone. Not often seen a grazing giraffe. If you ever see a giraffe with its head down like that, it's feeding on forbs, little herbs or weeds, as we discussed before, or it's trying to pick up some bone. You find it quite commonly with female giraffe picking up bone when they are pregnant. They chew the bone to add calcium to their diet. I've even found a female giraffe feeding on giraffe bone before, which I thought was quite interesting. Any females? Oh, look at that. We'll go and investigate exactly what this one's looking for. Afterwards, it might even just be a little puddle of water.
So along our search, along the riverbed, we came across this elephant. And he is currently getting some of the dried mud off from his backside. And he just broke some wind there as well. It seems like he is extremely relaxed. He's up in the shade amongst those two very big trees. And the one's actually growing on a bit of a termite mound. And you can see he's feeding off the grasses off the termite mound. So if you look carefully, you'll notice that he'll wrap his trunk around it and then pull it out. It's amazing how he's actually selectively picking certain sections that he'd like. Look at his trunk up, sniffing in the air. I wonder if we might get another view of him as he comes down towards the dry riverbed towards the left-hand side. There we go. It looks like a young bull. Now it's hard to age him from this angle, and from what I can see, it looks like he's covered in some dust and mud. He was probably using the mud within the riverbed itself to cool himself down. And on that termite mound that he fed earlier, because of the softer mud near the banks of the riverbed, it's a good spot for the termites to build their mounds, as well as the access to water. And now, after the rains, it's a good spot to go look for green grass. Tyler, are elephants' tusks made out of bone or hair? Actually, neither. It is a tooth. So, it is not bone or hair. And it is just the modified incisors that grow that way, and it's an aid to help them feed off certain plant species. It looks like we have actually lost him at this stage. You can see there's a lot of greenery around the riverbed at the moment. Oh, there we go. I can still see him silhouetted there at the back. Now, after this rains, it's like everything came alive quickly. And since I've been in this area, this rain has been quite early. And it's amazing to see this explosion of green and how active the animals are now that the sun's out. We've already started seeing some of the grasses turning green along the termite mounds, areas with good soils, and that's why we're seeing all these big elephant bulls in the riverbed. But for now, we have lost him. Unfortunately, he's gone up the bank and we don't have a view of him anymore. So we're going to continue along and have a look to see what else we can find. I think it's crazy how the weather has just switched from having cold, rainy days yesterday and the day before, actually the last 3 days, and then suddenly it becomes this very, very hot day. So the riverbed is filled with little holes where the elephants have been digging for water. Melody, the vegetation in this area certainly do vary a lot according to the different areas that we move into. Along the riverbed itself, it is actually much greener. The trees here keep their leaves all year long, most of them. There's also different types of plants that grow here, and they always have access to water. Even though the riverbed is dry itself and we don't see the water here, there's always water that flow underneath, and it's accessible if animals can dig to get towards it. And then as we move further away from the Timbavati riverbed, we have different kinds of soils, and the vegetation changes according to that. And that's also what attracts different species to different areas, is the change in the vegetation. You can imagine something like that elephant bull we just saw as a big animal. It needs a lot of food, and the most nutritional food at this point will be the greenest food. So I think we'll continue along the riverbed for now.
Look at this beautiful animal, probably the most beautiful that you can find safari. It is Pumbaa, a warthog. I was being facetious. They are quite often regarded as quite ugly. I don't think so. I think they're very cute with their little stubby body and legs. Very strong. This is a powerful waterbull, as I think you can see quite clearly at the back there. And he's got very, very aggressive tusks and amazing warts on its face, which it uses when it's defending itself from danger and also fighting with other male warthogs for the rights to females. It's walking. It's got a bit of a limp there, actually, in the back leg. Maybe it's had a fight already and it's gotten off second best. But what is really amazing about these animals is that they are ferocious and tenacious, and they are incredibly good at defending themselves. I did see once a leopard try and catch a warthog, and it failed once and twice, and then eventually the warthog just turned around and actually charged at the leopard and chased the leopard right off. So those tusks are very, very potent and powerful weapons. What they'll often do is they'll use the teeth or the tusks on the bottom jaw, which are very sharp, and they'll slice them from left to right and back and forth, and that can actually slice up a leopard quite badly. Or any predator. So it'll only be the most experienced leopards which will attack a warthog this big and strong. I hope that limp goes away eventually. We did have one that was hanging about the camp with a front right leg, I think, that had a bit of a swollen end. This one looks like it's limping on the back right. So hopefully that's going to come right. I mean, they go through a lot of trouble. They fight with other warthogs and they get chased by all sorts of things. So go through the wars a bit. And this looks like an old warthog. It's in great condition. Of course, getting older. And now, if you couldn't see the warthog's the face, or if you can see it now, it's quite easy. So it's got two sets of warts. It's got warts by the eyes and warts on the snout. And that is how you tell if it's a male. If you can't see his testicles at the back there, which you can see quite clearly here. So that's a good way to tell, because of course they use those warts to protect their eyes. If they didn't have those very sharp tusks could cause some serious injuries.
Yes, welcome back to the Masai Mara. I am still driving along the beautiful forest over here. I haven't found much. I'm sure they might be watching me and saying, oh, you can't see me, but there's nothing I can do for today. I have to keep looking. You know, talking about what warthogs can do with those little tusks, they actually can cause serious injury. But the funny thing is, one day I saw one that a tractor drove very close to its barrel. It came out so fast, hit the rim of the tractor and collapsed. That's how the impact was. It hit the rim, collapsed, and then it was there for a few minutes. Then it stood up, very groggy, and then went off. You know, apart from the skull, the tusks, their skull is very, very solid, very hard. Yeah, I'm still looking for something along this area. Usually it's very good. Lorna, you asked about safari ants. Yes, we do get them. We call them siafu, and they are very lethal. They say that the best thing if they get onto you is to undress and get rid of them. Otherwise, sometimes when you're really shaking, you know, trying to shake them away, they just cling onto your clothes and don't move. They wait until when you've forgotten, then they bite you again. We do get them, and especially this time of rain, there are very many. They do form these train-like tracks along the road, where soldiers actually form like a tunnel so that they can move under, and they are in their thousands and hundreds. They move from one area to the other. I hope I can remember and share that with you, but we do get safari ants. Yeah, this is the end of the marsh over here. So I'm gonna be following the track up, see if I can find something else up that way. But it has been very empty, surprisingly. For some reason, I won't complain because on a good day, it does offer me with a lot of opportunities, and it is nature. There is nothing I can do apart from keep coming and hoping to find something. And also it's nice to learn the pattern. It's been long since I came here just after the rains, so it's nice to learn that. Looks like somebody's getting some rain further up. We are getting these very localized rains, which is very unusual this time of the year. Yeah, we're going back to the track, go to an area that I expect to find something. It's a beautiful sunset coming in the next maybe 45 minutes. What do we have up there?
Welcome back to and beyond Pinde, everyone. The wind has picked up quite a lot, so it's actually quite chilly. I've just put my fleece on. We were with some lions earlier. They were fast asleep, and we were battling with some technical issues. But we went to go and have a look where there had been reports of some male lions feeding on a reports of lions feeding on a giraffe.
Sorry about the technical issues, everybody. You're back with us in Djuma. We haven't found any tracks yet. We're almost at Gowrie Main, off of Leadwood. So this is kind of an area they like to come in at. The wind is sort of coming directly from behind us. So you'd expect them to sort of be cutting across that sort of way, but without tracks. It's a bit of a guess. Ian, you want to know if we get a dry or wet wind? It really depends on what time of year. August, for the most part, produces very dry winds. But now that a bit of rainfall has fallen, it's a little bit more sort of moist. But it really is a seasonal sort of thing, and depends on which direction the wind is blowing from. We get two different types of winds, ones that come from the coast, which bring rain, and berg winds that come from the mountain. And the berg winds that come from the mountain increase in temperature, and they get very, very dry. And as they blow over the land on their way here, they increase in temperature even more and dry out more. And it's part and parcel of what actually happens in this area in the August months. Those very dry winds help to dry everything out, and that's what leads to the vegetation becoming more and more flammable. And just before spring or late winter is when fires are pretty common in these areas. Just the other day, the fire index was through the roof. It was very dry and very windy. And they tell everybody who lives in these areas about the fire risk index. And on certain days of the year, it's very important that you don't light any fires, because when it's windy like that, things can get very out of control. This juvenile batelier, that nest just off to the right of it there, has been used the last 3 seasons in a row. And this one's not leaving home, hanging out very close to where it was hatched. You can maybe hear the orange-breasted bushshrike in the background. These fellas have also picked a knobthorn for nesting, but battalias nest in the summer months when it's much warmer, and so their nest is always deep in the canopy of the tree, as the leaves provide some shade. Hello, Paul. Offhand, I don't know the length of its wingspan, but I can quickly check for you. Nice pointed wings. They say it takes 7 years for the battalia to come into breeding plumage. 7 years is a very long time, everybody. 7 years wearing the training wheels. I was going to use my app, but for some reason it's very delayed, so let me just jump into my battalia. One second. I've got the answer for you in one moment. Wingspan 173 to 177 centimeters.
Welcome back to the Mara, and here I have a beautiful sunset. It is still a little bit away, but it has been hidden. The sun is hidden behind those clouds, and it's giving us that beautiful show. Look at the colors, look at the rays. From where I am, that's what I see. With the silhouette of the Uluru Escarpment makes it even beautiful. It's around 6:10 here in East Africa, Mara Triangle, and it's a beautiful time of day to be out. I don't know if you can hear the sounds of the wattled plover, the Egyptian geese. Yeah, that is the sound of the wattled plover and the Egyptian geese. It's a beautiful location that I'm in. You know, the kind of place you'd want to be this time of evening. This area, usually it's prone to flooding when it floods. And so you will not be here in months of March, April, and May. Here we have somebody else. Another antelope that we find here in the Masai Mara. Looks like a bachelor herd of Thompson's gazelle. They sometimes resemble the Southern African springbok, but the springbok is slightly different. This one here, it's a bachelor male herd, which, you can tell by those very pronounced horns, busy eating away the grass. Also we have topi. And when they're together like this, it's much easier to detect any kind of danger. So that's why they are together. Remember, the two species do migrate. And we do find the Thompson's gazelle in herds, in a breeding herd, and also just the bachelors.
Love you.
Welcome back to and Beyond Pinde, everyone. And we've also found ourselves a herd. We've found a herd of buffaloes. We've come back to where we did see some lions earlier on. And it seems as though these buffaloes have moved through the area, so we're going to have to do a little bit of searching around here to see if the lions are still around or if they've been chased off. You can see the buffaloes are quite tightly huddled together. It is quite windy at the moment, so perhaps they have picked up the smell of the lions. We're not sure what went on when we weren't here, if there was any kind of interaction between the two of them, well, between the herd and the pride of lions. But just judging by the buffalo's behavior, they seem quite relaxed. Quite a lot of them are feeding, but they are quite huddled together, so maybe they just have the scent of those lions. They don't quite know exactly where they are. Yeah, look at that really old one right in the middle. She's actually losing some of her fur. Do any of the animals on Phinda have antlers, or do they just have horns, Emily? That's a good question. So none of the animals on Phinda have antlers. They all have horns. There are some species where both the male and female have horns. Buffalo are one such species. And there's a few differences. Oh, can you go across to those guinea fowls? Just over my head there's a little... I think we missed them. There was a small flock of crested guinea fowls that just ran across the screen. Sorry, Emily, back to your question. So, unfortunately, no, we don't have any animals with antlers. We only have animals with horns. So buffaloes, both males and females, have horns. The females have slightly smaller, thinner horns. The males have got much bigger and thicker horns that they use for fighting. The females' horns are mostly used for self-defense against things like lions. And what the males have actually on top of their head, if you look at the right-hand side of the screen, he was just looking at us, he's got a big boss on top of his horns. Well, we refer to it as a boss. It's a big, like a helmet of horn on top of his head. There's a perfect view. And then the one to the right of the screen now, that's looking to the left, is a younger male. So he hasn't quite developed that big boss on top of his horns. He'll get that thicker section of horn in between the two spikes will grow much bigger as he gets older. The females, their horns actually go into their head, and they've got a little bit of skin in between the two points. There's a big bull as well. And he's busy horning that tree. Look at that. Sometimes they'll get a little shrub like that in between their horns and behind their ears, and they'll actually scratch, just like he's scratching his face now. They'll put it in the gap between the horns and the ear, and they'll do that same up and down movement, scratching, trying to get rid of any ticks or other parasites. So what we're going to do is just stick around here and see. The buffalo seem to be slowly moving off. We'll have a look and see if we can maybe find the lions.
Welcome back to Djuma, where we're having some very strange behavior from these go-away birds. They're all on the floor, 3 of them, and one of them would go down and almost dust bathe, and then the other 2 would come and bite the ankles. I don't know if it's some prelude to some mating ritual that's going on. I've never seen it before. Almost looked like it was going to do some dust bathing, but it was very closely attended by 2 others, who then were biting the ankles. It was quite funny. A very pretty scene coming to you in the afternoon light. Monique, I actually have no idea the lifespan of a go-away bird. I was quite surprised to find out that a hornbill, the normal sort of small hornbill's lifespan is about 10 years. So going on the size, you'd probably assume, and you know what they say about assuming, probably a similar sort of age, but fortunately the information I get in my bird app doesn't give lifespan. So that's going to be one I'm going to have to ask the audience. Let me know, how long can a go-away bird live? Obviously, there is a difference between in the wild and captivity. See who can come up with the answer first. Oh, wow, 20 years has come up on my phone, so that is quite surprising. But I've no doubt that that has got something to do with captivity. 20 years in the wild, it's a long time. Okay, we've got some zebras alarm calling. I'm going to go check it out. Zebras just shouting behind us there. We haven't managed to find our lions. Oh, let's go this way. So let's go and see if we can pick up on the zebras shouting. Maybe they have spotted some felines.
Welcome back to the Mara, everyone, and look what I came across. This is the most beautiful part about being out here and being a guide out in the bush. Sometimes a lot of looking pays off. I wasn't thinking I was gonna find lions, but boom, look what I just found. 2 young male lions, sitting opposite each other, and these are from the Olololo Pride, because the area they are in is Olololo, so they are from the Pride. And looks like they really wanted me to see them because they're right by the road, and I really am thankful. It's only I cannot give them a hug, otherwise I would end up in their bellies, but I'm really thankful to them. They'll seem to be discussing something using their body language because they're looking at each other, and I don't know what they're saying. They're about, I would say about 3 years. Let's have a look once again. I would say about, yes, 3 years. And this is the time of their life that, look at, they're quite big. I would say, they're more than 3. I would say about 3.5, 4. Somebody else might argue, but I would say 3.5, 4 is the age. Yeah, the one to the right is walking, and he's quite a big boy. Look at his body. Yeah, look at that. He's quite a big boy. He's going to come into the frame right now. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at that. Yeah, looks like the other brother doesn't want that very much. Yeah, it is very important, that kind of bonding when they are this age, because they're encouraging each other. What lies ahead of them is a very tough life. Yeah, he's so happy and carefree. This is a time of, of their life where they are actually nomadic. They are part of the Pride, but they've been kicked out. So right now they're nomadic, and what they're doing is they're eating, accumulating lots of fat, getting big enough to be able to intimidate the main male or any other male that is getting old and cannot hold his territory.
Welcome back to Ambion Pinde, everyone. We are still with the buffaloes, and we've managed to get a buffalo between us and the sun, and it's got some gorgeous black backlighting at the moment. She was actually, it was quite funny, she was actually doing the phlegm and grimace, so she had smelt something on the ground, possibly where another buffalo had urinated. And then she lifted up her head, and they draw their lips back, and they breathe through their nose and their mouth, and they use the Jacobson organ on the roof of their mouth to interpret the smell. But the way that she was standing and lined up, it looked almost like she was howling at, like a wolf howling at the moon. It was a buffalo howling at the sun. So it was quite interesting. So they are all just slowly moving around and feeding around us. Nash, we've spent a lot of time with buffaloes. Are you trying to say that my favorite animal might be buffaloes? But no, it's not. My favorite is definitely a leopard. I'd have to say that a leopard is the most beautiful and graceful animal out in the bush. And yeah, the fact that they're really difficult to find makes them that much more appealing to me, I guess. You don't just sort of every now and then we do stumble across them and you get lucky, but most of the time we have to work really hard to find ourselves a leopard. So I think for that reason they must be my favorite. But I love all animals. I love all the animals out in the bush, and it's such a privilege to be able to observe them doing their natural behavior every day. I get to do that, so I'm really grateful for that. You can hear the wind is still blowing quite strongly, but yeah, it's just a beautiful scene at the moment with the buffaloes silhouetted by the sun. So I think we'll just sit and enjoy them. The sun is literally about to set, so we'll just keep quiet and maybe watch them for a little bit. We're just going to enjoy the rest of the sunset with these buffaloes and see if the lions make an appearance.
And over here on Ngala, we're also witnessing a spectacular sunset right over the Timbavati riverbed. Sometimes these are those little pleasures that you have if you live in the bush or you're able to be out in the bush on an afternoon. Even though we don't always have animals that we can view, And they can be very, very tricky. And then something as simple as something that we see every day, like the sunset, is a spectacular sight. Never the same, of course. In this particular section we had elephants earlier, some elephant bulls. They've disappeared up along the banks. So as soon as the darkness starts creeping in, then they move probably towards where there was water, since it was a hot afternoon. And around now would be the time for predators such as the leopard to start getting active. Rivka, why do sunsets produce such vibrant colors? Well, for this sunset, I know that during this time of the year, when it's usually more drier, there's a lot of dust in the air, and that dust kind of give it this red glow. And there's also, we've had a couple of very wet days, and there was like a haziness across the whole area. So as the sun would be setting, any dust particles in the air would catch the sun's rays, and it would give off that reddish color that we see. How beautiful is that? Another thing that's also amazing about this is the sounds that we can hear. All the birds starting to settle in. You can hear some of the crested francolins calling. We had some guinea fowls pass by this area earlier on. There's a giraffe coming down.
Welcome back to Ambient Pinde, everyone. We actually had a giraffe here much earlier, which was staring in this direction and must have been looking at the lions. And the lions are still here, so we literally came around the corner from where those buffaloes were, and this young male lion just lying beautifully out in the open, still snoozing a little bit. And him and his brothers definitely have been watching the buffaloes. It looked as though the buffaloes had come from this sort of direction, but between us and these lions, there is quite a deep little gully. So they would have felt quite comfortable with those buffaloes walking past them, because they knew they've got that escape route or barrier in between them. A buffalo herd like the size of the one that we were just looking at would more than likely chase these lions. So there are only 4 lions here. The 2 that are pictured are 2 young males. They have one other brother off to the right. Oops. Sorry. Having a bit of a sneeze. Now there's a fly bugging him. So yeah, Tim and his 2 brothers and their mom. And they would not be they would not be able to compete with a full herd of buffaloes. The buffaloes would chase these lions away. So as the sounds, especially a big herd of buffaloes, make quite a lot of noise as they move through the bush, these lions would have been alerted to the presence of those buffaloes and all would have popped their heads up just to see what the commotion was about and make sure that they were safe. If you look around the neck of this young male, you'll see he is starting to get a little bit of a mane. And one of the ways that we can age a lion, is, especially a male lion, is by looking at that mane development. So he's just starting to get some of those tufts. And they start to get them between about 14 and 16 months normally. So I would say he's probably around about 18 to 20 months old now. How far can lions spot prey, Randy? That's a good question. So I've seen lions, I'm not 100% sure if there's an exact figure as to what the distance is that lions can spot things, but I do know that they have exceptional eyesight. We've been sitting with lions and they've been watching herds of zebra or wildebeest up on a mountainside more than 2 kilometers away. Not with real intent, but they are able to spot animals moving a very long distance away, especially movement. Their eyes are so finely tuned to spotting changes in their surroundings, especially like movement. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be able to give you an exact figure, Randy, but it's definitely.
Welcome. Look what we just seen. We just found some beautiful elephants very close to the road, and they're munching away the grass as they head towards out into further plains below the Olololo. It's a nice big breeding herd enjoying the grass as much as they can. It's quite a good number of them. Very close to the vehicle. I have 3 to my right. I have about 8 to the left. It's really amazing. This is the African elephant, our largest land mammal here, and this is the animal that converts land second to man here. Without them, we'd have overgrown forests, overgrown grass everywhere. So they play a very big role in making sure that we get rid of those unwanted shrubs, unwanted trees. Yeah, and also this grass is too much, we don't have anybody else to eat it as much. Apart from the wildebeest, the zebras will do enough justice. Yeah, I'm gonna move forward slightly because I'm blocking the road for somebody behind me so that I become friendly. Yeah, it's a nice breeding herd and with a lot of young ones, which is really good. This time of the year we are seeing lots of young ones, which is a very good, welcome thing. Yeah. So it's really nice to see a big herd like this, quietly grazing away, and see lots of young ones. It means that our numbers are growing. Yeah, this is an animal that was under a lot of threats in the previous years, but it's making a very good comeback. Here in the Mara, the population is doing quite well. Remember, this is live. It's coming from the Masai Mara. You can continue talking to me. You can continue asking questions. #WildEarth. Yeah, these are the 2 off to my right. It looks like a female and young. And this grass, it's really getting a beating from them. Of course, they are the only ones, one of the only ones that can eat it, so I'm not complaining. Yeah, too much grass. letting some air out here. I don't know if you heard that. Look at the skies back there. Really, really, really beautiful. Here, herds of elephants can be up to around 50 in one herd, and usually they're made up of a matriarch, which is the oldest female, and her sisters, which is very common here in the Mara. Sometimes they split into smaller herds of up to 12, and they wander off, different directions. But eventually, sometimes in the year, they do come back together. I don't know what it's listening. That elephant, see, it stayed still. Yeah, it's listening to something. Yes, spread out, head raised. Oh, there's a topi there. Yeah, there's a Melanie, you say it's a perfect African sunset. Yes, it is. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Look at this. It's only a topi. It's only a topi. Yeah, I think he got lost, got mixed up somewhere. Did you see the reaction? I don't know what they thought. I think they thought it was a predator. And they all ganged up, put the little ones in the middle, and, really came for the topi until they realized it was only a topi. But yeah, that is the kind of quick reaction the females have whenever they feel like they're threatened. They're very, very protective. I tell you, this is an animal you don't want to mess around with. I have lots and lots of respect about them. Anyway, looks like they have relaxed really fast, and usually there is communication, going around that we can hear. So definitely, maybe the oldest female said, oh, who, gave that alarm? You should learn it's only a topi. Okay, everybody back to business. Yeah, there's a tree, and usually when there's a tree, a scratch, an itch develops. Yeah, it wasn't a very bad one.
Welcome back to Ambient Pinde, everyone. We are still sitting with these lions. Yes, that sounded amazing. Elephants chasing a topi. Not much has changed. This lion fell asleep for a little bit and he came back just at the right time. He's got a fly irritating him at the moment, but he's been doing some stretching and yawning. So it seems as though he is in the process of waking up, but I think I'm talking him to sleep. He's dozing off again. That little mane sort of developed, it's actually a little bit more developed, especially around his chest, underneath his chin there. So yeah, these lions are approaching 2 years, probably around about 18, 19 months old now. Not yet quite helping mom with hunting, but they will be following and probably ruining a few hunts. So yeah, we're gonna stick around because those buffaloes are still in the area and see if anything happens.
We are still sitting here at Ndlovu Dam, right outside the eco-training camp, just waiting for that pixie pan female leopard to grace us with her presence, as she so often does right as the sun starts to set. So it's such an awesome day by this waterhole, and we've driven around here and there to see what else was about, and really the waterhole was the winner this afternoon. So we're just quietly waiting here and just watching the world go by. It's such an awesome thing to do. We've got a couple of lilac-breasted rollers that nest here, which just fly across us every now and again. Got the flowering knob thorns and the sound of the red-billed buffalo weavers just twittering as they come back into the dam to roost for the evening. Very, very peaceful scene. It's been fun, though. It's been fun this afternoon. We saw that whole group of elephant bulls playing and fighting, and You know, we saw the duiker acting really strange, but the water's very nervous. The warthogs, of course. So it's been a really nice afternoon. It'll be cherry on the cake if we find that leopard, though. It'll be super, super great. So hopefully, if we sit here quietly, the world will bring us what we need. Sometimes it's all about positivity. Gale Force, I don't think that there are fish. I know for 100% certain that there are lots of frogs because the Egyptian goose made a mockery of me last time when I said they don't eat anything but vegetation, and then it immediately gobbled up a frog. Classic. But fish yet that I know of. And if they are, they'll be very, very small because we haven't seen the swirls of the fish. There's terrapins in here. They eat insects mostly. There's frogs, which will also eat insects and other things that are around the water. But no fish, not yet. And I don't know why there aren't fish because this waterhole has had water for years and years. So it's just one of those mysteries because catfish especially tend to colonize these places very quickly. Maybe this year is our year for fish.
Welcome back to the Mara. I'm still here with my elephants, and they sort of have relaxed very much now after that false scare from the topi, and now they are spread out all over here. Elephants are not under any threat, and so they get comfortable very, very quickly. Here in the Mara, they haven't been hunted or touched for over 70 years. So they're very calm, and you can get really close with them on a vehicle. Of course, you have to let them approach you. You don't approach them. You have to let them approach you. But they are very much aware that a vehicle doesn't do any harm. Here, they're heading up towards the escarpment. The main purpose, I don't know. I don't know if it's a different grass, fresher water from the hills. I cannot tell you. Yeah, it's getting rather late for us here, so we're losing light. But I'm enjoying this. I hope the same for you guys. Seems to be lots of young ones in this herd, so they have been doing well. Yeah, there is one little one there that had a little bit of an itch. That's a serious itch. Yeah. I'm glad, I don't have to use a tree as a scratching object. Yeah, for them, they have very thick skin. And it's appropriate for them to do that. Sometimes they get rid of insects and ticks that have been stuck in the skin. Sometimes they wear the skin down. It becomes, the skin on the tree down. The back, it becomes very, very smooth. That is a young male. Yeah, usually, sometimes we can tell by looking at the forehead. It's much rounder, and he's very, very relaxed. All alone. There's the mother. She looks like she's also the matriarch of the whole herd. Look at that sight, guys. I hope you're appreciating this. Hope you're loving it. It's that time of day when the day says goodbye and the night, is welcome. We might get some rain tonight. Hopefully when I get home. Not now. Yeah, everybody is very relaxed. Only the sounds of crickets. The birds have gone to sleep, and it's getting cool. I might be putting on my jacket later on, or in a moment. Yeah, looks like they're not picking up. That one is not picking everything. It's just choosing something. The one to the left. And is the female up there gonna scratch on that tree? Sorry, Dina, you asked, do elephants eat what? Didn't hear the last word. Mud? Yeah, it's not mud. They don't eat mud, but they do eat a specific kind of soil that has got minerals, we call it. It's a lick, it's a salt. It's got lots of minerals like salt or sulfur that they need in their body. So they don't eat mud, but they wallow in mud and they eat. They lick salts in salt licks. These are, minerals in the soil. I don't know if I got what you asked, but I hope I answered what you wanted to hear. Yeah, she's very busy eating something there. I don't know exactly what she is eating, but there's a specific grass that she's pulling off that little area there. Looks like a very young mother there. Could be her first offspring to the right. I don't know if you can hear the sounds. I can hear a bat ticking away. I can hear crickets. Well, I'm gonna move on. I'll catch you up the road. Hopefully there'll be something different.
Welcome back to Untitled, everyone. We've lost one of the lions. He's had enough of staring at us, so he's moved to cuddle one of his brother or his mum. And they are still fast asleep. So although that one was yawning and grooming himself a little bit, the process of waking up for lions can take sometimes a few hours even. As some of you may know, they can sometimes only be active for 4 or 5 or 24 hours. So this is their to get as much rest as possible. See those beautiful little spots all over that lion's legs, and there's a few faint ones on its belly. That looks actually like Mom. Oh no, it's one of the young males. See, those spots are quite prominent. But their mom is quite young as well. These are her first litter. So she's only about 4 years old. As these males approach 2 years old. And what happens with lions is the females, those spots on the legs fade, but they will always be there. So a 4-year-old lioness, the spots will still be quite prominent, but if you compare it with like an 8-year-old lioness, those spots will be a lot more faded. But with male lions, those spots are completely gone by the time it's about 2 years old, 2.5 years old, and are replaced by, you can see a slight hint of that grey fur starting to come through behind those spots. And their whole body will be covered by a darker grey coloured fur. And the spots will be pretty much gone. They've found quite a nice sandy patch where they're lying at the moment, but there's still some grass that seems to be tickling them, and there are flies bugging them every now and then. It was quite warm today, but this breeze that's blowing now is actually quite chilly. So I suppose they're enjoying the last of the warmth that this sand has got. It's quite dark sand, so it would have warmed up quite a bit during the day today. They're absorbing that before they decide to actually get active. But I think Craig and I are going to move on and see what else Pinder has in store for us this evening.
So we've been sitting here now, and a lovely little duiker has arrived, and I think it's the female, which is probably one of the pair. So remember, we had the male duiker earlier, and now it's a female, and she's super relaxed. I wonder if it's because it's getting darker. She feels a lot more comfortable because of the darkness. So they're eating a bit of everything, as you can see, little fallen pods and leaves and things. But duiker, one of the very few antelopes which are known to eat bits of carcass and insects and birds' eggs and frogs and all sorts of things as a supplement to their diet. And as you can see there, it's eyeing up the buffalo. I think it's looking for its next snack. I'm of course just joking. A duiker is no way going to be able to eat a whole buffalo. It'll have to get a whole group of its friends. So the buffalo have also just turned up a little while ago over the dam wall. Now, we heard them a long time ago, and we really wondered if they were ever going to come to the waterhole, and our patience has paid off. 2 big, beefy boys came to drink. These are old dugger boys, old, strong buffaloes that are trying to settle down in one area now, maybe a bit too old to be following the herds, the long distances that they walk to get to all the food and the water holes. As you can see, when it walks, you can almost tell that its age is catching up to it. It's lumbering, slow, plodding gait, but still a very formidable and powerful animal. Marge, you are exactly right. So a duiker would only eat these supplementary parts to their diet, like birds' eggs or lizards or whatever they can find, when they are lacking a specific type of nutrients, or if there's just no food available. So in the winter, like you see now, the duikers, the common duiker, would probably be looking for anything it can find. So if it found a little ground nest, it might crack those eggs open and eat them. But it won't certainly go looking for those in the middle of summer, when there's plenty of the green vegetation that they like to eat. So there's a leopard. There's a leopard that's just come down to the dam. Hold on. Oh, it's at the water's edge. There. To the right, a bit more to the right. A bit more. There it is, right there. There's a leopard. 2 leopards. It's the cubs. I think it's the youngsters. Yes, that's the mother. That's the mother drinking, and one of the cubs. Absolutely unbelievable. We were just saying we want to wait at the dam because we think the leopard will come down and drink, and here we've got the mother and its cub. Just one of the cubs. This is Pixie Pan female. This is incredible. Believe it. How lucky is this? This is only I think this might be the first time I've ever seen Pixie Pan female and her cub at the waterhole. I've seen her on her own. I've never seen her with a youngster. That is incredible. We are so lucky to be here. The duiker is frozen dead still. It saw the leopard and froze, and I actually saw it freeze, but I didn't want to take my eyes off it. Oh, the third one is coming. The third cub is just behind it. Not the third cub, the second cub. Just behind the tree to your right there, Odie. There it is, look. She's still got both of her youngsters. That's amazing. This one is clearly a little bit more nervous, but it's slowly going to make its way down to the waterhole. Wow! I've got the biggest smile on my face. Pixie Pan female and both of her cubs. I don't know if they're both males or both females or one of each, but this is so great, and this is such an important part of the habituation process. We're sitting quite far from them, maybe 50 meters, maybe a bit less than 50. But this is all helpful. They can hear us. They definitely can see us. And the camp is right here. Wow, incredible. So she's obviously very thirsty. It's a long time since we saw her at a waterhole. I mean, she probably comes here all the time. We were just saying to Odie before that these leopards often will arrive at the waterhole just after a drive. And here they are, right here before us. Nicholas probably around 18 months old, would a young leopard be able to be independent fully. Now, it might happen that at a year old they get forced to be independent if the mother dies or if they get chased or something like that. Or they might stay with the mother 2 years or more. It all's dependent, but if you read the books, and as an average, we'd say at about 18 months, a leopard would leave its mother. This one's approaching us. How interesting. I think the duiker it's moved off. So this young leopard is coming to investigate. Now, as it gets darker, remember that oh, it's chased something. As it gets darker, these animals become more relaxed, more calm, because they know darkness is their friend and that they can hide even in the very open spaces. So they start to become a lot more like brave. So when the daytime they would run away from us, but at night they'll come right up to the vehicle. This is so spectacular. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have this leopard here that I've been wanting to see for so long. You are also to see it. And we're so happy to have her here. We want her, you know, she's on her, got 2 young, lots of hyenas here, and lots of other large predators like lions. We saw those 2 males before. So hopefully she's going to keep these youngsters healthy and safe and raise them to, and then the next generation of leopards of Pride Lands. Oh, look how agile and beautiful she is. So the one youngster is being brave, drinking a little bit later. What's she going to do? Is she going to disappear onto the other side, or is she going to lie down? How spectacular. What an incredible last-minute moment.
Welcome back to Joom, everybody. We've moved back towards Vuitela camp because Trishana, who's off this afternoon, heard leopard calling nearby. These impala are looking extremely relaxed. And we do thank you for joining us this afternoon, everybody, on a wonderful bumble. Well done, Mike, for getting your leopard and cub at the dam. Well predicted. I love it when that sort of thing plays off. We do thank you all for your questions and comments this afternoon, your interaction. It's been wonderful. Look forward to hosting you again in the morning. Same time, same place. Have a wonderful evening further from us and all of our wonderful locations. Have a wonderful evening. Until tomorrow morning, good night and goodbye.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is